Right, okay. Okay, we ready to start then? Yeah, okay. I haven't got the usual spiel that's normally read out at the beginning of the meeting about meeting being recorded. So I'll just carry on with item 1 on the agenda then, which is the election of the chair. So do we have any nominations for chair? Has anybody considered it at all?
I wasn't aware that Tony was leaving.
No.
This is the first I've heard of it.
Yeah, neither was I. Any volunteers?
If no one else will, I'll help out, but I'm not bothered.
I see.
I think
Liz,
Liz has her hand
Liz,
up.
yeah.
I was just going to nominate somebody,
well,
but they might not want the nomination.
well, we can ask, can't we?
I was going to nominate Aaron.
Aaron, are you happy to accept the nomination?
Rather John did it, to be honest.
So that no then.
So no, okay, I'll
Is that
nominate John.
Okay, so we have a nomination for Councillor John Burns. John, are you willing to accept the nomination?
If nobody else wants to do it, then for time being, yes, okay. So at least we can carry on with the meeting, if nothing else.
Yeah, and can we have a seconder for that? Councillor Miller Jones. Second that, and can we vote those in favour? Looks like you got the job, John. Over to you.
Thank you very much. Okay, well, let's move on to item number 2 then, which is the election of a deputy chair.
Oh, good.
Any nominations?
I'll nominate Councillor Lucarini.
Councillor Carini, are you willing to accept the deputy chair?
Yeah, I'll accept that one.
Okay. Good. I can't remember. I mean, obviously, we haven't got the co-option of members, so it may all change in the future anyway, if someone else wants to. Okay. Any seconders for Councillor Lucarini? Councillor Liz Smith? All those in favour, please show. Hand up. Lovely. Thank you. Item 3, apologies for absence, please.
We have apologies from Councillor Mason, so you missed a trick there.
Okay. All right. Declarations of interest, item agenda 4, declaration of pecuniary interest, request for dispensations. Anyone? No. Okay. Moving on to item 5, co-option of members. Do we want to leave that till full council? Is that next week? Next week, I think, isn't it? No, week after. Sorry.
Yeah, I think if the spreadsheet you sent is anything to go by, this Councillor Page might get appointed, but he's not here to be co-opted.
No, that's right. So shall we leave that till, I think it's the 26th, if I vaguely remember?
This Councillor Smith has a hand up.
Councillor Liz, yeah, I saw that. Councillor Liz Smith?
Yeah, I was just going to ask if you got my note that I am on the committee at the moment. I think on the agenda it didn't have my name. I don't know if you saw that note from me.
I did, yeah, thank you for that. Yeah.
Okay, that's fine. Thank you.
Okay, so we're all happy to move for co-option, yeah? We haven't got any dissent by the looks of things. Right, minutes of the previous meeting held on the 3rd of April. I just managed to close it down again, which was good. Have you got it available, Colin?
Yeah, we can share that if you wish.
If you would mind, please. Well, first of all, we'll hopefully we'll read it and agree with it. Any changes? So can I have a proposer to Councillor Lucarini? Seconder, please. Councillor Liz Smith. All those in favour, please show. Lovely, thank you very much. Right. And then actions from the previous meeting not on the agenda, which I think was only regarding the solar panels, but Gary Wilson's on holiday, isn't he?
He is, but I have a report from him.
Oh, you would do. Okay, that's fine. Okay, so that was page 45. That was, sorry. Page moving down to page 46. Nothing on there. I don't know. Have you? Oh, well, we'll get on to the other things anyway. Item that's okay. Operations manager not there. So moving down to item. I lost what page I'm at. 47 then.
Just to say that very top of page 47, bottom of the page 46.
Yeah.
Full council accepted the recommendation of the committee.
Yep. Sorry. Yeah. I forgot about we did. I knew we'd done it, but I hadn't. Time has gone so quickly. Okay, lovely. Thank you very much for that. Right, moving back to item 8. Assume nobody's waiting on the public forum. No? Okay, moving on to 9. Be friendly, Haverhill.
I should say, Chair, just for the minutes, I had apologies from Nan Eshelby, who I invited to come along to the meeting. So if we could record that as well, please, Jane.
Lovely. Thank you very much.
Who we just lost?
Liz. Oh no, Liz is here.
I'm back. You did lose me for a little while. I'm back now.
Oh, okay. You moved to
Yeah.
your new position. That's all right.
Yeah.
So item 9, yeah, be friendly, Haverhill. Was there any update on that at all, Colin?
Yeah, only in terms of that I know Nan is talking with Debs Brown at Castle Manor School, trying to arrange some interaction there with the school children on their eco committee. I have emailed Damien Parker at West Suffolk Council asking for an update on the proposals for felling some of the sycamore trees at the bus station and building some bug hotels and some flower beds to plant some pollinator attracting plants along the riverside. As you know, there's quite a few self-seeded sycamores there that are obviously they are big, but they're still weeds at the end of the day. So there was an intention to do that, but I've not heard anything. And I had a look last week and the work hasn't been done. And I assume at the moment there won't be any trees being chopped down as we're embargoed until the end of July.
Correct. Yeah, correct.
Councillor Miller-Jones has a hand up.
Sorry, yeah. So I was just trying to think of something in my mind. Sorry, I had something in my mind there, but I couldn't remember what it was. Councillor Miller-Jones, sorry, Laura.
Obviously I'm all for bug hotels and bee friendly flowers and all the rest of it, and love it, but I really don't think we should be chopping down any trees. If the only reason is they're a weed, who cares? Like, unless there's a danger or some reason that we actually need to remove these trees, then why are we chopping down any trees given the amount of carbon they pull from the atmosphere? It's the absolute last thing that an Energy and Sustainability Committee should be doing.
Yeah, it's about thinning them out. It's a discussion we had with Environment AG some years ago to make the side of the Storebrook slightly more managed. At the moment, there's rewilding and there's actually just giving up and letting something just go nuts, which is the latter is not necessarily the best you can do for the environment. So it's not at all unusual for sycamores to be taken out simply because they grow so easily that they end up cramming a particular area, and that's certainly the case down at the bus station. So there's nobody going wild with a chainsaw.
I mean, none of that sounds like a reason to me, saying, oh, they're like, and if they're not doing any harm, then leave them. They're good for the planet. I can't see. I mean, what actual harm are they doing?
I think it's what it impinges on other plants, which will perhaps give a bit more biodiversity. I take your point. It's always a bit of a shame to chop down trees, but sycamores are not a threatened species by any stretch of the imagination. They have thousands of saplings from every single tree every single year.
I mean,
So-
I'm aware of that, but if it's a mature tree, it's still pulling so much carbon from the environment. And I just think, I think there has to be an extremely good case for ever getting rid of a mature tree. And I'm really not hearing it here at all.
Okay, well, I hear what you say, but obviously, I mean, we were going from the fact that West Suffolk were talking about the need to thin some of the trees out to give some of the other ones a better chance. And the thinnings, we asked for them not to be removed from the site, but to be used as bug hotel and some form of landscaping.
Who would I talk to at West Suffolk about this? About about the decision to actually chop them?
Well, it was a discussion. It may well be the reason we've not heard anything is because the decision is not to do it. But Damien Parker is the person who's in charge of open spaces.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Should we move on to item 10 then, the biodiversity projects? Opportunities for projects and grant opportunities?
This was put on the agenda by Councillor Mason, who's subsequently given his apologies. He did email me. If I just find his email. He said, keen that the Town Council access and make use of as many grants available for biodiversity projects. Persimmon have given me the heads up that they have a biodiversity grant that the Town Council would be eligible to apply for. He's keen that we start work on some projects to meet this goal.
Yeah, I think the Persimmon one is a similar one to all the other grants they do, where you can apply for £1,000 here, £1,000 there.
Yeah, I've given those details to Sarah Marsh, but that was specifically for a grant towards Haverhill in the Park as opposed to an environmental one. I have to say, my recollection is similar to yours, that they've kind of condensed it into a community grant pot. I might be wrong.
Yeah, I thought there was. I mean, it may be stuff out of Tesco's and people like that. Councillor Dave Smith.
I met the CEO of Persimmon. I don't know whether that's local or whatever. A couple of weeks back, and he was saying with their funding, they've condensed, as you say, whereas they used to give out £1,000, they're donating to like larger payments of, rather than something like £1,000 every month, is £3,000 every quarter. So, yeah.
Councillor Liz Smith.
Are these projects that they would fund, are they within the area of the whole of Haverhill, or is it just in the areas of those developments? Are we talking about projects?
I believe Persimmon, they don't care if the Town Council applies, the Town Council spend it basically where they like, as I understand it.
Okay.
All these grants.
Okay.
It's
Yeah,
not
I
like
put in
an
the
F106.
limitations.
Yeah, it's
I
not
know
like
some
an F106, sorry.
Some places have limitations, such as for the landfill tax funds, where we're not close enough to any of the waste processing sites that are run by the various companies that offer grants. But as far as I know, we're okay on that. I had spoken to the Store Valley area of outstanding natural beauty team at the county council, who are interested in they're interested in the projects that we've just been talking about down by the bus station. So whether or not that goes ahead or not, I don't know, but they were interested in the pollinator project there.
Councillor Miller-Jones.
Yeah, so is this something that, do we need to have like a sort of completely planned out thing before we ask for the grant? Or is it a case of we go, oh yeah, we've got some biodiversity stuff, can we have the grant? And then, do you see what I mean? I'm just wondering what order it is that we do it in.
We tend to have a oven ready-ish project so that we can actually say, this is what we're going to do with your money. Would you like to fund it? And they can say yes or no.
Okay. So is this for us to sort of have a think about what sort of things we want to do?
Very much, I would agree. I would suggest. The other people I was thinking about, Colin, was like people like the Community Foundation, Suffolk Community Foundation. Whether they have any, I know they don't have specific pots, but they have amounts of money given to them by various entities. And maybe they're quite keen to support a particular side of things. So they might be worthwhile approaching.
Yeah, I mean,
projects.
Just building on what Councillor Miller-Jones just said, I mean, obviously, first and foremost, we'd be best off identifying the projects we want to do, and then look for the appropriate funders, etc. So I discussed the bus station project with the ANOB, and they're interested, because obviously Haverhill just lies slightly outside it, but they felt it sounded a good enough project to be worth putting an application in for. So it's that kind of thing, thinking up sort of good projects that people would be interested in. And so there are things like the Tesco's fund, that those people put those little blue tokens into the slots for projects such as that.
What brought me, I was thinking about actually item 9 as well. Years ago, and I'm probably talking about the best part of 20 now, maybe longer, Havebury were doing some sort of, I'm going to call it a garden. It wasn't a garden, but it was off Manor Road on the opposite side to the, it's behind what used to be the furniture place, Project Furniture around there. But it was all to do about wildlife and what we now would call biodiversity type projects and everything. I don't think they would be called that in those days. I don't know whatever happened to that. It might be worthwhile finding out because they put quite a lot of money into allowing people to go along and plant odd things and everything. But I think it might be abandoned. But maybe when Havebury, because when they had moved their offices out of there, maybe they just abandoned it. But I'm just thinking, I don't know who owns that land. That might be quite good, opposite end of town to other things that are going on.
Isn't there a sign up on Railway Walk along there that still points to some sort of nature trail or nature reserve or something?
It was sort of a nature reserve. That's perhaps a better word for it, yes. But I don't know how far it got. I know they put quite a lot of money in, and I'm talking about not long after they took over council housing. What was that, 2001, 2, something like that? So it's about 20 years ago. But I don't know whether that's quite a good, maybe a project for, to fund, perhaps. Not saying it was, but just a suggestion. Councillor Dave Smith, and then Councillor Miller-Jones.
I was just thinking I can't really call it urban park or something. Wasn't there going to be some sort of biodiversity part there amongst that? Because is that something we could spend money on? Am I misremembering that at all?
It's the community open space that you're thinking of. That the part of that is given over to the urban sports park. So that sits at the old Millfields school playing fields, and where the community orchard has been planted. And there's plenty of stuff, plenty of scope for projects there. And one of the key things, I guess, for that particular project to really get it going is probably not so much a sustainability project, but more of an art project, which is designing the gates that people go through from the Pocket Park by Chalkston Community Centre to access that area. That's it's part of a bigger project that we could work on. But the idea is that within that there could be loads of smaller projects that community groups could adopt and fundraise if they need it, or otherwise do something with a piece of land there that's reflecting some aspect of sustainability, or getting the community out and about into open spaces.
It seems to have gone a bit quiet about that on that side at the moment, hasn't it?
It has a bit. I mean, it's actually the bit at the moment is we've talked to the planners about about the urban space, and we've really got now got to go out to tender for getting quotes for the work to be done, including applying for planning permission for the urban sports park.
What happened to the group that we had that was supposed to be overseeing that area? Colin?
Do you mean the community open space or the urban sports park? Well,
No, the
the
whole
answer
thing.
is
The whole thing.
well, that's the community open space. Well, it hasn't met. There hasn't been any demand to
No.
meet. Obviously, other things have crowded it out in terms of elections and all the rest of it.
Well, even the urban, I know slightly going off track here. The urban sports park seems to have gone quiet from a councillor point of view. We seem to be at the moment told.
Nothing has happened.
No, okay.
Nothing has happened to it. We had to design, and that went to the planners. And
Okay.
we've had some views back from the planners, and we've now got to get on with actually preparing a specification for people to bid to.
Okay, so I've not seen any designs either. So that's what, okay. That's why I'm saying it. That's why I was asking what's going on. Okay. Anything else? Oh, sorry, Councillor Miller-Jones. Sorry, I didn't come back to you. Sorry.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask about like wildlife corridors. Is there, I mean, it's something that I know it gets talked about quite a lot. You know, we need to make sure that we've got these corridors, you know, for wildlife to travel sort of from like one area to another. But is there any place that we can find out sort of where these places are? And I mean, is it just a case of literally looking at a satellite map and working it out using your common sense to work out where we need these corridors? Or is there a better way of figuring out what we need to do to sort of facilitate that?
Yeah, we can answer that one. The Railway Walk is a county site of biodiversity or something like that. It's not a triple SI or anything like that, but it's a county site, and basically Railway Walk acts as a corridor for wildlife through Haverhill. And one of the arguments for the community open space as it goes past Tesco's is that at the moment that's where it goes very narrow, and you know, basically trying to encourage part of the community open space being a kind of a zoned off area by planting hedgerow between the old school hedge, which coincidentally also needs thinning out because the Wildlife Trust said it has very low biodiversity value, and they suggested thinning it out and putting some other trees in on a phased program over a number of years, so we don't freak out the population by chopping down all the trees because they're supposed to be bushes. The hedge has gone nuts. But basically between that existing school hedge line and say an area sort of 30, 40 metres in to community open space, put a kind of natural hedge, hawthorn, blackthorn, etc. All the plants get in there, crabapple and wild rose goes in there, and hazel, and basically the space between the two hedges is then left for rewilding, so that people can't really access it because there's two hedges kind of bracketing it away from everything else, to
brilliant.
create, yeah, that's the idea.
I mean, what I was more getting at was that we have isolated kind of areas, I believe, where there's no way for wildlife to travel between the two. I mean, I don't know how true that is, but that's, and I'm wondering if thinking of, you know, biodiversity projects, I'm thinking if there's scope for maybe creating a wildlife corridor where we currently lack one.
If you're planning on having a conversation with Damien Parker, as he's manager of open space at West Suffolk, he's probably best placed to talk to you about that in terms of where they may have identified potential. I was involved in a hedgerow project. I don't think it's going on. It was run by the Suffolk County Council for quite a few years, mapping all hedgerows in Suffolk. And the idea there was to look for where there were gaps in hedgerows and replant them to re-establish those hedgerows, because hedgerows often operate as wildlife corridors, as you no doubt know, and having big gaps in them it causes an issue for wildlife. So it's perfectly possible that even in a townscape that wildlife still use hedging, etc., to work their way through a town. And then you get discussions about hedgehog gates and etc., so that people don't people leave ways for wildlife to actually get through their gardens and out the other side. So yeah, I think certainly have that discussion with Damien. I think you'll find there's probably quite a lot we could be doing in Haverhill.
Brilliant. Perfect.
It's interesting that nature reserve, that's what we call it, behind Manor Road there. I was driving down Millfields Way on Saturday night, and I was quite surprised to see a muntjac deer crossing the road, heading towards that old landfill site that's there, where all the methane extractors are. So it'd be interesting to know whether there's anything going on in that area, because obviously there's nothing can be built on it because of what it is. Okay, we're happy with that. Laura's disappeared. I don't know if you just turned the camera off, Laura. Right.
Yeah, I'm still here. I've just turned my camera off for a
No,
minute.
that's fine. That's fine. As long as you're still there, that's fine. Nobody else got anything else on that particular agenda item? Okay, let's move on to sustainable markets, number 11 then in that case. Have you got any report at all, Colin?
I talked to Sarah about this, and she said it's a bit too early to say much about what's planned for the September one. And she was saying that if councillors had a particular theme in mind, that would be a useful steer for her.
Okay, we should have had a report on the last one, of course, as well. Unfortunately, quite a few people didn't turn up, and a few people cancelled before the event as well, which was a bit of a shame.
That report went to Leisure and Community.
It did go to Leisure and Community. I just seen it on the agenda item here, but it's there's a bit of a shame, that one. But I think that's just generally what happens with markets these days. Anybody else? Sorry, Councillor Miller-Jones, obviously.
I apologise for just speaking out of 10. I don't exactly have a suggestion right now, although I will have some. But I just when we were sort of on previous ones, sort of trying to find like food vendors and stuff that sort of had like an eco-friendly theme or whatever, we had I had asked if the Little Pizza Oven could be invited to sell their vegan pizzas they do, but then they ended up coming and selling non-vegan pizzas, and they didn't actually bring their vegan cheese with them. They forgot it, and I think they did go back and get it halfway through the day, but it kind of defeated the point that I was hoping for, like at least one kind of vegan food vendor there, because obviously that's a huge environmental issue. So I just wanted to point out, I think I did mention it to Sarah on the day, but that was quite a while ago, and I don't know, I'm not 100% sure if I did tell her or not, so I just thought I'd mention it again.
Okay, it might be worthwhile just dropping them an email.
Yeah, okay, I will.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you very much. Anything else on item 11?
Yeah, I'm aware that we haven't actually covered Gary's report, which he prepared before he went on holiday. It's not particularly under any of these items. It already harks more back to the matters arising, but
yeah, it does. Yeah, I thought we were going to. Yeah. Okay, well, should we put that in here then? 11A, should we call it? Gary's report. Then I haven't seen anything, obviously. So
yeah. So basically, he's done a little bit of sort of a resume of everything that's gone on, just to kind of. I've asked officers to do this in case there should be new councillors present at meetings. So I'll skip those bits that you obviously already know about. The zone, as far as getting the solar panels on there through Andrew Oswald at West Suffolk, he's thanked us for sending through the lease. He can't see any issues as long as we get approval from the landlord and the tenant. Certainly still in a position to install solar, and the unit sales rate will be 15 pence per kilowatt hour. It's a legal side that always seems to take the time. Once the lease is agreed, we can install within 3 to 4 months, so probably later this year. So that's on the zone.
So 15 pence is what we're going to have to pay, yes?
The unit sales rate, no, that I would assume is what they sell to the grid.
Oh, to the grid. Sorry. Okay. All right. Be interested to know what we're going to pay.
I thought the deal was, I may be totally wrong, but I thought the deal with this was that the host doesn't have to pay for their power, and the company putting in the work, in this case West Suffolk, gets its profit or gets its return on investment from the selling the excess to the grid. Am I wrong in that?
Well, if it's the same system as I'm aware of my business, we pay West Suffolk a figure less than 15 pence a unit. I mean, I do know what it is, but I'm not going to mention it. We pay them for what electricity we use through the solar system, and obviously we pay the grid for what we use through the grid, which are completely disparate figures. And then whatever the profit, if you like, if you want to call it that, is what West Suffolk receive to cover their costs. That's the way that we work anyway.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose it depends on how you read it. I mean, this is written by somebody from West Suffolk saying we're still in a position to install solar and the unit sales rate will be 15 pence. I suppose from their point of view, they might see the sales as in sales to us. So you may well be right in your interpretation of it.
All right. Sorry. Laura, Councillor Miller-Jones.
Yeah, hi, thank you. I may be just misunderstanding how complicated this is, but I feel like it was months and months ago that Gary had said that he was going to get the approval of the landlord and everything for the zone, and that it was just a case of sort of contacting them and making sure everyone was happy. Is there a reason that still hasn't been approved?
It's not a matter of approval from the landlord particularly. It's West Suffolk wanted to see a copy of the lease, and it has taken us an inordinately long time to track down a copy of the lease. It turned out that actually neither side had been sent the final copies by their solicitors, which is the reason why we both spent so long trying to find them fruitlessly. And in the end, we've gone with the version that we signed, that our landlord has, but we're still waiting for solicitors on both sides to actually provide the fully signed copies. Obviously, when we sign a lease, it then goes off for the opposite side through their solicitors to sign, and these two seem to have fallen into a black hole, and I'm not quite sure where that hole is.
Can we chase the solicitors on that?
Well, we are doing that bit, but it's sorted. We've got an agreed copy of the lease, and that's what's now gone to West Suffolk. So West Suffolk have sent it on to their legal department to decide that they're happy with the terms of the lease.
Okay.
So we're not at the will the landlord let us stage, because I think that's already been established long ago. We're at the as Andrew Oswald said, the legal side is a bit that takes the time. So the legal department of West Suffolk will agree whether or not the lease is, to their mind, adequate to allow them to go ahead and do what they want to do. Because obviously they don't want to do the work for us and then discover that the lease is too short or doesn't allow us to do this sort of work.
Thank you.
Councillor Dave Smith.
Yeah, forgive me if this has been covered before. Obviously, I'm new to this committee. So, are we talking about the rent a roof scheme? Is that what it's under in West Suffolk? Is that
it? Well, the system I know of is that they pay for everything. The business, whether it's the landlord or the tenants, don't pay for anything.
Is it
it's
through
not
West
renting a
Suffolk?
roof as in the normal residential type things.
Right. Okay, because it is for public buildings as well, isn't it? I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So I just wondered if that's what the scheme that we're doing it through, or intend to do it through. And the other question is going to ask is the technology, obviously with these things ever evolving. I mean, there's been news recently of the these panels coming to the end of their life and being a big problem with disposal of them. Do we know what sort of technology they're going to use? I mean, at the moment, you've got something like the International Space Station where they're replacing all their solar panels with rollout ones. IROSAs, I think they call them, and they fold up. Basically, you roll them out and then you roll them back when you don't want to use it again. So it's probably costs a lot more money, but I think that's the way forward. Anyway, yeah, just wondered what sort of technology they're talking about using.
Well, I don't know about my business, but I mean, one of the considerations that's also going to what Councillor Miller-Jones was saying is actually how load bearing the roof is as well. You know, on our one, we had to have a survey done of the roof structure as well. So you can get much lighter panels these days compared to what they were like 20 years ago. But I think they're always using the latest technology. I think the biggest part of it is actually the box of tricks that does all the work, which is, you know, downstairs somewhere.
Yeah, but if they're sort of like these lighter weight ones, then you don't have to put any weight on the roof at all. You just put it on hanging from poles, don't you? Just
can do.
Yeah.
It's worthwhile chasing up, Colin, with Gary about the what we're actually paying for the electricity through the grid, through the panels. Is that the 15 pence or is it some other figure? And how fixed is that as well?
Yeah, we'll get some clarification on that. Certainly, before obviously there'll be a document at some point for the council to agree to sign. So all the details will all come together at that point.
Yeah, okay, that's great.
The rest of Gary's report, basically regarding the new energy contracts they has. We're basically at the moment we're with YU Energy, and that's through Laser, which is West Suffolk's agent, and Laser is saying that the unit price is likely to be a region of half what we're paying now. So that's from September. So obviously that sounds quite attractive to do that. To give you some idea of what we're paying, based on your current usage and your current rates with YU Energy, we found you savings of £76,000 a year. Yeah, that's a savings. So that's a 12-month renewal. General trend is currently people signing up for 24 months. Unit price is in the area of 30 to 40p, down from 80 to 90p at its peak. That's the Gary's recommendation is that we take a gas supply that's brokered by Laser, and then explore the urban chain option through West Suffolk Solar Farms. I mean, it's interesting. It says electricity would be in the region of 15p a unit. So it does suggest your theory is right, John, that the sales rate that was referred to earlier was the sales rate from West Suffolk to us.
Yeah, could be.
Urban chain was something that Councillor Mason mentioned some time ago. So, and we've been following that. So we're happy for him to push forward on that option. That'd be useful guidance.
Is that the one that the county council is involved in?
Yeah, it's peer-to-peer energy sales.
That's right. So, they did a big advert thing last week, I think it was, week before, from the county council. Yeah, going on about it. Okay. Any comments on that last bit about energies? I mean, anything reducing our energy bills is brilliant. My own business is the same. And household hopefully will come down as well, which they are planning to anyway. Okay, anything else on that one? Anything else on Gary's report at all?
No, that's the end of his report.
Okay, lovely. Thank you very much. Right, item 12, items for the next meeting. Other than what we've already discussed today. Obviously, we got Be Friendly to come back. Obviously, we got the Biodiversity Project. Councillor Miller-Jones.
I don't know that it's an item for the next meeting, but just on the whole sort of Be Friendly thing and the whole issue of mowing and no mow. I know we've talked before about the fact that obviously residents complain when there are, you know, places that aren't mowed for quite a long time, and we were discussing signage for areas that we're going to leave to grow. That sort of, you know, explain to people that it's for the bees and it's, you know, it's obviously to help like wildlife and the environment and stuff. And I just wondered if that is still something that we're planning on doing, and if that's something that we need to discuss more, or where we are with that.
We don't have any land to leave unmown anyway, although we haven't mown around the back of the arts centre, but obviously rather different reasons behind it than necessarily no mow may. Yeah, I mean, the community open space doesn't get mowed, but anything else would be down to West Suffolk. And I know they're entirely amenable to it, but obviously they have to field the objections from certain quarters that you predicted. So again, actually, he's a busy man. Damien Parker is responsible for that side of things as well. So
yeah, I know we'd discussed that although it's West Suffolk who do the mowing and not us, we had discussed that because we had requested fewer areas to be mowed and stuff, we had still discussed kind of as a council putting up some signs to explain to people why it is that these areas are being left, because it's not just West Suffolk Council that get the complaints, it's Town Council as well who get the complaints about, and residents don't know that it isn't Town Council who mows. You know, I see it all the time on the Facebook groups and stuff, people saying, you know, why don't the council mow, and thinking it's the Town Council who aren't doing it. So I just think, you know, it's not a bad idea, because also it might help other people to stop mowing if they realise the reason why. You know, it's sort of, it's an educational thing.
we just need to know where from West Suffolk that if there are any areas that they've actually deliberately left.
Yeah, okay. So ask Damien.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so we could do that, certainly. I suppose we just have to be slightly careful that we don't paint ourselves into a corner with that. I haven't actually had any complaints directly. People may have complained to each other on Facebook, but nobody's complained in my earshot, certainly, to the town council about any areas not mown.
Before I go on to Councillor Dave Smith, it's worthwhile knowing that the reason that a lot of areas haven't been mown is because they haven't had the staff. They've been off sick and on holiday, and they literally had one person being able to operate a lawnmower or machine mower, and that's why they are way behind on grass cutting at the moment anywhere.
The reason we're stuck with, if we wanted to cut the grass, if you cut the grass and then take it to the Homefield Road depot, they have a big container to put the grass cuttings into, and so you can't throw it in yourself. You dump it on the ground, and they use their digger to lift it up and put it into the container. Unless it's moved, the last I heard, the digger was at the cemetery where it'd be being used, and the only person qualified to drive the digger on the road is on leave, and therefore they can't get the digger back to Homefield Road, so they can't cut the grass.
Yeah, it's a ridiculous situation, but anyway.
Well, no, I don't think it is ridiculous. I think it's an absolute human level. This is how life really is. People expect some great conspiracy theory or
no. I wasn't being that. So the problem is that what you get is isolationism, that we don't get people moved down here from Brandon or somebody who's qualified to drive that digger or whatever. And it's not just the digger, it's other machinery as well. It's because they're so short-staffed, they can't get the staff, you know. It's unfortunate. And there's lots of things not going on unrelated to grass cutting. I mean, look at the state of the footpaths on the recreation ground. They're mud baths when it rains. Been trying to get that cleared up for weeks, you know, nothing can. Anyway, Councillor Dave Smith, you wanted to say something?
I did. Can't be sidetracked. I can't remember what to say. But I'll say on the grass cutting though, it's not just for Suffolk Council. I've had last couple of days, residents from Haybury complain about the grass areas, their communal areas there not being cut. And when I contacted Haverhill, basically they should have been done the week beginning the 29th of May, so they're at least 2 weeks behind there. But a bit shame some of the publicity on BBC website about the hedgehogs being damaged in the because people cutting their grass after no May. Well, and they're blaming the no May. Actually, the problem is people not checking that there's animals in the grass before cutting it. So yeah, I can't remember what my original point was going to be, but anyway, we'll leave it there.
Items for next meeting, maybe?
I haven't got a clue now.
No, okay, sorry, yeah, we went off on a slight tangent. Sorry, Councillor Miller-Jones again.
This is another thing that I'm pretty sure is not an item for, but you don't all know, but Colin knows Miles, who's been helping with some energy stuff, and he has mentioned something to me a couple of times about how he thinks that what Haverhill should be doing is tapping the energy potential from the industrial park and using that, like from the businesses, factories and things are putting out loads of heat and stuff. And I mean, I don't know that, obviously that's not exactly a town council issue, but Colin, I know you're very knowledgeable, and I just wondered who would be the person to talk to about something like that.
Some kind of energy recovery.
Yeah.
A lot of businesses all do it. I mean, I do know, not Sanofi, what they call Euro API do energy recovery systems. IFF use energy recovery systems, the big players.
Okay.
I
mean, I think the idea was that there were probably a lot of other ones that aren't, smaller ones, that if you got some kind of community thing in place where it was like, give us all your waste energy, like anyone who doesn't already have their own kind of, self-sufficient energy recovery system going on, to get them to give that to us, which we could then use to generate power for the town. I mean, obviously it's a massive project, but it's a good idea.
I would suggest possibly Andrew Oswald. We were just talking about him as far as energy on top of company buildings was concerned. He was also the lead for a proposal for a local area heat pumping system out of a provincial house. And I know that West Suffolk were very interested in the story that was on the news a couple of months back down my previous council, Exmouth. Our local swimming pool is heated now. They've done a deal with a local computer company, and the computers are cooled by the swimming pool water, which is heated by the computers. So they get free heat, and the computer company saves a fortune in terms of how they get rid of their heat. So what you're suggesting makes a lot of sense. I know West Suffolk were interested, and I know I talked to Warren Smith about the this for Abercroft Leisure. So I should think if anyone's been tasked to look into the potentials for where there are businesses paying a fortune to get rid of heat, and there are other businesses that want the heat, whether there's a deal to be done there.
Thank you. Okay, I will look him up.
Yeah, Andrew's a fountain of all knowledge on anything to do with energy. I've used him a few times in the past for various things.
We are on district council forming a new sort of sustainability working group, and we have been asked for sort of suggestions for that. So if anybody kind of has any suggestions for stuff that is this sort of West Suffolk I can't think of the word, like jurisdiction kind of thing, and please do send anything to me that you think is something that we should be looking at, please.
There is a county climate change group as well, which I would imagine that group will want to make sure it's plugged into.
Yes. Okay. Good point.
Okay, so have we got anything for the next meeting? I can't think of anything other than what we've already discussed as various things.
I think it's really the bee friendly thing to see what actions manage to take place and then perhaps take stock, because I think we may have ticked a few boxes already.
I agree. Okay,
Sorry.
Councillor Miller-Jones, go. Laura?
Sorry, I'm being really annoying. Colin, can you just clarify what happened with the whole access agreement thing?
So that's been approved for us to sign.
Okay, so is that going to happen imminently, or
It depends what your definition of imminent is, but yes.
what's the next step there?
Gary gets back from holiday, fills in all the paperwork,
Okay,
and
brilliant.
we sign it.
Is that pretty high on his agenda?
I should imagine so. I can't think what else there could be above it. We'll certainly make the point that it gets on if Jane puts it as an action point for him to complete the paperwork.
That would be amazing. Thank you.
Okay, lovely. Thank you all. Item 13, date of next meeting, Monday, the 18th of September. Time is going on. And if nobody's got anything else, we'll